This is a quick demonstration of how to review the key elements of your rubric. A really useful rubric can do a lot of heavy lifting for you and your students. I have my top 3 reasons for taking time creating assessment rubrics. The first reason is a good rubric will help provide valid and reliable marking, especially when a number of markers are involved. Secondly, if a rubric is explicit about what is being assessed, this helps students to know what to aim for before they start the assessment task. And 3, a well-designed rubric will provide the kind of explicit feedback students need to explain their assessment result and to know what to focus on next time. So let's start with the criteria itself on the left-hand side. This should be 100% in tune with what you've stated in the assessment task description. For example, this rubric is assessing a case study that is to be presented as a portfolio presentation. Is the online aspect around creativity and imagination being sought by the lecturer described in the assessment task? And with respect to the rubric, criteria 3 would benefit from explicit information in the performance descriptors, especially in the highest performance level where the optimum performance indicators are for the student. Still on this particular criteria item, is a portfolio presentation the best way to deliver this kind of detail that a case study format requires? Analysing a rubric can lead to bigger changes occasionally, such as the form of the assessment task, but let's press on with this rubric. Now have a look at the 4 criteria. Each is allocated 10 marks. Is it likely that all criteria will be of the same value? Also, at the top of this rubric, I've suggested 5 performance levels are better than 3. This allows for greater differentiation between student performance grades. It also allows for greater refinement of marks applied to each criteria performance. So this rubric has 3 levels of performance and 10 marks for each criteria. What is the respective distribution across the 3 levels? This needs to be clear for students and will save you time later when you receive student queries. With 5 performance levels, you can still provide a range such as 9 or 10 for a high distinction. The most important part is including that on the rubric itself. Still on performance levels, this rubric has a low, but does that mean fail? If it does, then it needs to say so. Most of the time, we do need to include a descriptor that determines a failed performance. Deakin rubrics tend to follow faculty or school patterns. The most frequent descriptors I see are high distinction, distinction, credit pass and fail, or excellent, very good, good, satisfactory, fail. The most time-consuming part of designing a great rubric is identifying what you mean by the adjectives. What is inadequate or strong, for example? Think about this from a student's point of view, who will say, what do I need to do to demonstrate the strong rather than the inadequate performance? Again, explicit, identifiable descriptions of things you want to see evidence of will really help your students learn. Not all rubrics need to be equally extensive. For example, a final year, final trimester unit might have assessment rubrics that are very detailed and extensive because they are factoring in accreditation standards or industry-ready standards. The quality of the information in the rubric is more important than the length of the rubric. In other words, look for ways to identify key evidence that can differentiate the performance from the next descriptor.